Good afternoon, everyone. I am Bashir. So I'm going to take you through the first steps of this discussion. So this is a protocol as described. The topic is improving HIV service delivery for people who inject drugs in Kazakhstan. The study protocol for bridge stepped-wedge trial. People who inject drugs are part of key populations where these people are susceptible to HIV, high HIV prevalences and incidence. So the presentation outline is we are going to talk about the article, the background, about the study design and the methods used, and we shall discuss. About the article, this is a study protocol, so we don't have results yet. The study is being carried out as we talk in Kazakhstan. It started from 2017, it is going up to 2020. So it is, this protocol was published in 2019, BMC Journal of Implementation Science. It is a 3-year trial, as I said. So, the background. So where is the gap? Why was there a need to conduct this trial? So, in Kazakhstan, they have a great deal of people who inject drugs. And they have a higher prevalence, HIV prevalences, compared to other key population. It was 9.2%, as you read in the paper. And still, their partners were found to have HIV prevalence of 10.4, so it's high. However, when you look at this graph, only 80% knew their status, and 39% were on ART. And only 21% were virologically suppressed. You see there is already a gap there in knowledge, and there is a gap in accessing art, and there is also reduction in viral suppression is a bit low. These people, the HIV positive people who inject drug, remain untreated and face increased HIV related morbidity and mortality due to continuous spread of virus through sexual and injection, as they use injections. They share injections. And when you look at this, it is therefore critical to identify these people, the people who inject drugs, and link them, to identify the HIV positives and link them to primary care. And the ultimate goal of initiating them on ART and reduction of virus and achieving viral suppression. So communities and medical providers, they often have this belief that these people who inject drugs will not adhere to treatment and therefore at a high risk of developing drug resistance. However, the research which was conducted before suggests that they benefit from ART just as like those other people. So people in Kazakhstan who inject with drugs, they face many challenges. One of them including the barriers include accessing HIV care, to retention, and initiating and adherence to ART. So they also face other challenges which are being criminalized because these PWIDs, it is a crime in Kazakhstan. Then negative provider attitudes towards them, and there is a knowledge gap in the training of regarding the people who give them services. So when you look at we look at Kazakhstan, it is only less than 50% of these people access HIV care or go for testing, less than a half. Yet there are many and have the highest HIV prevalence. So there are some organizations and the government. They have what we call needle and syringe programs. These programs are an opportunity setting for these people to get HIV information, therefore to be tested and linked to HIV services. What normally happens, these programs supply needles to these people and condoms in order that they don't share injections. But while providing them with needles, they are rolling them into knowing their HIV status, testing them and linking them to care. That's what happens in these programs. So the people who wrote this paper thought about using these programs which are already there to constitute a hybrid type 2 stepped-wedge design to evaluate both the effectiveness and implementation outcomes of this bridge and intervention to identify, test, and link these people to care. So the study was conducted in 24 NSPs in 3 different regions of Kazakhstan to assess the outcome on individual, the people who are getting the service, the organizational, those are organizations which are involved in NSPs and HIV linkage, and policy levels. So this is the conceptual framework for the type 2 hybrid. So they have the bridge intervention, and that is the SNS, social network strategy. So what happens when there are these people who inject drugs and they don't want to come to these NSPs, only half of them come for these services, and hence they miss out on many which would be otherwise linked to HIV and then given drugs and viral suppression and reduction of HIV incidence and prevalence. So what these people will do, what these people did, they use the social network strategy. They use their peers, the peer groups in the let's say if they come here to Makere, they use the peers such that they convince these people, they roll them into coming to NSPs. When they come to NSPs, there they have a chance of knowing, getting the knowledge about HIV, getting tested and linked to HIV care. So this is one of the bridge intervention. The one bridge is to get those people from communities to come and attend the NSPs. So there is HIV counseling, rapid testing and referral. So when they, as I said, when they come, then they test them, they counsel, they do HIV counseling, test them, and those who need to be referred are referred. Then there is antiretroviral treatment and access to services. So they give them the medicine, those who are positive. So then there are implementation strategies. So how are they going to achieve this? Then you go to the implementation strategies. By training. The training, as we shall see, involves the staff, those people who go for the HIV counselors, people at the facilities. So there is a lot of training. Then there is strength-based supervision, whereby the nurse who is at the hospital can supervise the community health worker who is conducting, who is heading the social network strategy. So in that case, when you provide such supervision, it is within the system. Even if you go, it will stay. So then there is a community of practice. This was done by, they created a WhatsApp group. So since they are in different communities, they share their experiences and things like that. Then technical assistance, where if they need like equipment, things that they don't have. So this is where the implementation came in. Then there are outcomes to measure at the end of the day. They will measure the effectiveness, outcomes, the effectiveness of this bridge, hybrid 2-bridge, step-wedge trial. And that would be by determining the number and percentage of HIV positive clients linked. Then by determining the number and percentage of NSP's clients who receive rapid testing, and number of new NSP's clients and NSP's existing clients. So there are also implementation outcomes, and they are all primary outcomes. So they were all had equal, the word was gone. So the number of NSP's staff and clients that implement and conduct receive bridge intervention components, that is the uptake part of the process. Then the number and percentage of bridge intervention components conducted in accordance with the protocol, the fidelity, and the amount and the quantum for implementation strategies that staff received. These are the strategies that so the measuring implementation outcome, the number and the quality. So what else? What is the stepped-wedge design? Okay. What is a stepped-wedge design? This is a control trial. Though they say it is a control, but we shall see you don't really have much control in it. Like the other controlled trials where you restrict that these people have to be in the intervention, these people have to be in the control. So you follow them throughout and get the results and measure the outcomes and results at the end. What happens here in a stepped-wedge? Everyone gets the intervention at the end of the day. For example, this happens when you don't have enough resources to conduct a randomized clinical controlled trial in the other way. So what happens? You get a proportion of people, you subject them to intervention at a specific period. For example, if we are all students here and we want to increase the number of cooking, to cook at home. So what happens, since we don't have money, we train a few per week and measure the outcome. We train a few on how to cook from here, and then we measure the outcome of cooking at the end of the day at home. So the randomization comes in on which week will you be put. For example, now when it comes to these NSPs, the randomization was in when is this center receiving the intervention? Are we together? Yes. But everyone at the end will receive the intervention. Okay. Is randomized control trial in which I think I've said a lot of things. Typically, it is for logistical constraints. It involves the collection of observation during baseline period, which no clusters are exposed to. Yes. So at the beginning, we measure the baseline. Everyone gets the baseline. They measure the baseline characteristics of everyone. Then they start to give intervention. If they give the intervention, then they measure the outcomes along the way. As we shall see, following this, at regular intervals, all steps, that's why it's called a stepped wedge. So at different steps, you include the number of people who receive the intervention. It is clustered because there are 24 NSPs in different regions. So those are the small clusters. Receive intervention and all participants are once again measured. Yes. This process continues until all clusters have received the intervention. Yes. Finally, one more measurement is made after all clusters have been received the intervention. So at the end of the day, when everybody has received the intervention, then we again measure the outcomes, like how we have seen how they will measure their outcomes. So this is a brief description of the stepped-wedge, where this more blue, the bluer, the cluster exposed to intervention. And these are the time in weeks. You see, at the beginning, if you start with 6, then they add on to 12, 18, like that. So at the end of the study protocol, 85 weeks, everyone has received the intervention. So it doesn't really have the control and the intervention arranged that this should be like this until. So in this way, like it works best for this, because it is ethical, because everyone received the intervention. For example, in this process of HIV testing and linking, you don't want to say now I'm randomizing this to receive the testing and the linking, and these ones will not get the treatment. So it is ethical by doing this study. So everyone, for example, HIV testing, giving drugs and everything, everyone gets the intervention. Okay. We go to study methods. This was a stepped-wedge design. So it utilized the stepped-wedge cluster in 3 cities of Kazakhstan, containing 8 NSPs, 24 NSPs in total. These were the clusters. 3 cities, each containing 8. So at the end of the day, they have 24 NSPs. The bridge program staff, the primary implementers of the bridge intervention were 24 nurses, or there are still 24 nurses. The study is still going on. Social workers and 8 outreach workers. Like I said, the outreach people go and tell people, they give them the information, then they come to NSPs, then the social workers do the counseling, testing, and linking. So it moves like that. So the PWID's participants collect data on existing clients and NSPs. So while we introduce an enhanced recruitment technique, this is the social network strategy as part of the bridge intervention. The study does not utilize its own cohort participants, instead relies on the data collected on its existing clients. For example, at the baseline, they say, if you want to know the number of people who have, at the end of the day, have received the program, have received HIV testing, you first know what is in the books, how many were receiving before. They were 10%. So when I put out my program, how many did I get at the end of the day? 80%. So I think that was the reason for going back to data. This was the bridge site selection process. It is in the paper. I think I've explained, they got the 52 industry programs in total. Then they gave reasons for exclusion. So there are inclusion criteria included. If you are located within 20 kilometers from the AIDS center, your NSP is included in the study. If it had a private room, if it didn't provide the rapid testing, and private rooms for clients in order for that stigmatization to go. So if it had the leadership, all staff that were unwilling, those were eliminated. So the staff had to be willing to join the program. And the bridge intervention and implementation strategies, like I explained before, it included a social network. This was peer-driven approach based on social network. Then there is HIV counseling, rapid testing, as it was done according to WHO CDC guidelines. Then there is this ATAS, enhanced antiretroviral treatment and access to services. Then they train their staff. So this, in summary, this whole bridge stepped-wedge trial utilized the existing system of NSPs, just identified the gaps, then gave assistance to bridge those gaps in order to have their outcomes. So this approach is called a differentiated care service provider. I think you have heard of differentiated art delivery, where the guys themselves have a way to get the art. So it defies the usual pattern that you have to go to a health facility. Remember, these guys are criminalized, they are arrested, and they have strict policies against them. So that's why they don't go there. So if you use the decentralized approach, where you use the peers and the social network strategy, therefore that means these people trust themselves, so many will come for the service. That's the advantage of this paper. They use the decentralized approach other than the traditional medical institutions. So decentralization and integration in HIV services reduce harm and brings HIV services close to those who would otherwise refuse. Then reduces the risky behaviors because these people trust themselves. And improves adherence to services and health outcomes. Okay, that's all I had to say. My colleague will take you through the rest. Thank you.
We've seen how he has taken us through the paper. So now my part would be simply take us through some of the measurements they set out to do when they do this trial, when they run this trial. And there's a table in the paper, it was table 1. So one of the challenges we've encountered as we keep learning this implementation science approaches is the amount of detail they want. They always want a lot of detail. So you have to kind of define everything you're going to do. And in this paper, we found it well done. In their table 1, they show us the outcomes. In Bashir's presentation, he showed you the uptake and then the fidelity and some other outcomes. But here, in table 1, they break down everything. They describe how every outcome is going to be. They put out which tool they are going to use, and then even when the assessment will happen. For instance, they mentioned for you what linkage to care will be. Linkage to care will only happen if you have somebody who has been tested as HIV positive and they are linked to the clinic. And that has to happen at least in a time of 6 months. They mention it clearly, then they put for you the tools they are going to use. They do that even for HIV testing. They mention what would NSP visits be like. And they mention that the total number of clients per NSP, and then the number of new NSP clients enrolled in the past 6 months. That means that is it. Remember when he mentioned the stepped-wedge, he said that at every step or every rollout, they will be spending 6 months in a city, work with the 8 NSPs, then move to the next city where the 8 NSPs work with them, bring this bridge intervention, and then keep moving on. So here, still in this table, you describe and bring the steps that you're having. They are also reflected that it's going to happen within 6 months or for the past 6 months. That means it's a time when the intervention has been provided. Then they continue to describe how the assessment for the different objectives is going to go. For objective 2, which is M2, where they set out to assess how the bridge intervention package of implementation strategies, the training, the supervision, the community practices spoke of, the technical assistance, how that impacted uptake and fidelity of the intervention effectiveness, they mentioned. And they said we shall consider uptake by looking at the number of NSPs and the NSP staff and the NSP clients who are implementing or who are still conducting and receiving each component of the bridge program. In other words, you may train people, give them all these things, but then when they go back to their routine and they ignore this. This is something we also have to think about as we plan our work. We may want to write a study and want to use some of these techniques. Then the fidelity, they mentioned for you that this is going to be the number and percentage of bridge program activities that are conducted in accordance with the protocol. So you look at it and see how it's going, and then even the documentation, they tell you how would you document their supervision checklists, their reports. There are all these details to help you document. Then the dosage and content of training on the components, they mention it. If there is a training, we need to see the attendance list, we need to see the number of audio reports that are. There really has to be proof that that activity was done. And this is usually where we find challenges. One of the things we found really interesting about this paper is that with implementation science, it's always very hard for you to show people clearly what was the implementation strategy and how you measured. And this paper shows us one way we can do that. You document everything, even if you changed. In one of our last meetings, we realized you can go to the field and then you realize, okay, we planned to give people art at the very time they are diagnosed, but when you get there, you realize people actually don't want to receive it there. They want you to go to their homes and take it to them. And then you have to make such a change. You need to document that because it is something that has changed in your implementation strategy. And in this paper, they show you how they really documented all those small bits. Through to M3, they mention how the retention in care is going to be measured. as the number and percentage of people who are HIV positive, the PWDs, PWID, for as long as they visit the clinics in that 6 months of the intervention. And they say that this goes on until the end of the trial. They keep mentioning it clearly. So that's something we felt is very important for us to bring out as we are looking at this. Then the other details, we have another table which Bashir didn't show here, but as he was speaking, he brought it out, which I felt we would also look at before we open the discussion for any questions. In table 2, they bring out the point of care service data collected through the survey. And here they show you exactly what you will collect. This is what we are going to collect at every point of care service point. That means that every NSP, they will be interested in knowing, okay, how many syringes have we given out? How many, condoms have we given out? How many people have we tested with rapid kits? You document each and everything. And sometimes when we are writing our classic protocols, you realize these are things we would never specify, really. So it gets us to think a little more about our kind of be exact. Yeah. Then they mentioned the data collected at the AIDS centers. Even at the AIDS centers, they do the same thing. If there are any laboratory tests that are going to be done, you put them down. Okay, it's a laboratory measurement. For instance, the viral separation that you're interested in is going to be a laboratory assay. So you have to specify which assay is that one that you will do. And here, in this section, at the AIDS centers, that's where they list the assay, the specific assays they will do. So that somebody doesn't remain speculating. So they list ELISA, they list the BM testing, the CD4 testing, and then they even mention a bit of how they will have the charts filled. They mention it. And at the end of the day, they continue to even talk about one of their aims was even the data. They even mention how if you read through the data section, they mention how they will do their cost measurements. They document every bit we have spent. Transport is this much, transport is this much, or this is this much, so that you have all that data comprehensive. Yeah. So since this is a paper that's different from the ones we've been really looking through the results, the remaining section is about methods, which points out the different, is about the analysis plan, which shows us the different approach they will use to analyze their data, and it's organized as per the aims they have. They have a hypothesis, which guides their analysis, and then they also have several methods of analysis that they put down. They will use their GLMs, there is a cost-effective analysis, which they show they have different nitty-gritties, which I may not go into now. But I would want to open the discussion to others who picked something from this paper so we can all interact.
I urge you to read this paper. Personally, I rate it 11 out of 10.
Thank you for the presentation. So in this stepped-wedge trial, you say you have your cluster, your sites, and then you go from site to site, adding on for each period. So when you move from this group where you've been to another group, does the intervention continue in the group you're in?
Yes, that is actually the important things in a stepped-wedge. So that you utilize the things the resources that are in the facility. So that you want to leave when everything is, you just give them bridges to those gaps to show them how they will do, and you let them move the program. Like when you have a nurse to supervise these community health workers, so that even if you go, the supervision process continues. That's the importance of this stepped-wedge protocol, such that when you leave, things continue to move as they were when you're there. But of course, human beings, they may relax, things may go low, but of course you bring out those processes.
And this is something you have to pay attention to. When he was presenting, I remember he mentioned something that when you're doing the stepped kind of design, at the end, when you have now reached everybody, remember you make one last measurement where you have the intervention. That means you have to plan early. You see that even when you are past the first step, when you move to the second, this side you still have enough supply. That's why you have to ride on existing And here people did it so well. For instance, if you check out the package which was for the trainings and whatever, they mentioned for you they picked those very nonsense. And the community health workers, and even they mentioned what they trained them on. If I can see it, I just...
What they did, they come to your facility. So they talk to you. They see if your nurses are willing to cooperate, if your community workers are willing to cooperate. Then they train them. So they give them, they take away that knowledge gap. They train them on how to conduct the study, how to recruit these people. They train them how to get these people from their communities to access, to come to NSPs. So when they give them all that knowledge, then they let the system flow normally according to training. For them, they measure the outcomes.
Thank you so much. So I think you can understand two step-wedge and personal organization and how can they help. Design, so first of all, the time is not far enough to do the presentation on the control. There are the must measure the outcomes in calendar time. If you fail that, you cannot try. The increased potential for contamination is significant that you will report bias results. But some external events will actually just take over the stuff. So you have to make sure you do that. Complex analysis. I know you're doing technical. One of the difficulties in step-wedge design.
That's true.
You will do whatever you do, the design will come to analysis, it will find not to. And that's why you need to engage and see their statistician. Also, what's most significant is time lag in implementation. It is significant to represent the power. If you're saying that you want to transition, then you delay transition at the end of the internet, it's a case. So it's a tricky design. They're very tricky as you come for it. You also have to put your head. You don't have to end up disappointed.
Be very fair.
So when you go for it, also you got time.
So that's a caution for people who may be very...
I think one of the strategies they used to make this implementation work, they had a community advisory board, which constituted a lot of everybody will use the program, from the community representatives down there, these PWIDs, to the policy makers, to the people at the health facilities. So everyone gave an idea. They used to have meetings. So everyone would put an idea that maybe these PWDs will say you should implement this like that. That's why implementation strategies change according to the population you go in. This one may give you that in order to penetrate my population, you have to approach like this, which will deviate from your protocol. So I think by involving every stakeholder, it gives you a very good, it gives a strength to implement your studies smoothly.
My question is around how do you determine how long to implement in one site before moving to the next step? Because I see here that they chose 6 months. How do you choose 6 months instead of 3 months? Is there any criteria?
Actually, that's a question we also have when we're looking at cases. But from I'm not an expert, disclaimer first. So the entire idea is you have to first look at your package, your intervention package. In my package, for instance, now we had the different bits shown. We had SNS strategies. If I have formed a peers I'm training who are going to move out and they have understood their package, that's one bit. Then the second one, I have community health, I have the health workers at the facility who I want to train. Have I trained them on what they have? And then you have to give it some time to pilot. Meaning if they have understood that they are doing it well and even room for retraining, once they've picked it, then you can allow time to work on your participants. Because this is a trial where they had specific numbers of participants and they work on it, much as they're working clinics. As long as the number is short, then you can move on. I really think this is not something that's written in stone, but it depends on your kind of intervention. I don't know what the others think.
I think normally, so it's important that you be a pilot of the intervention. try to get an appropriate estimate. Because time is a factor. If you're not going to make the time, by the end of the study, your power will be 40. Because time lags. So if somebody says 6 months, you justify why he says 6 months. Because you have to keep transition in 6 months. So you run implement the pilot is facilitated. Those are the things you measure. How long will it take to implement this intervention to completion at this site? For 6 months, you might have to add to 8 months by time. That is transition. So it all pulls from the beginning of your pilot studies. Groundwork, otherwise you might assume it's 3 months, you're definitely 6 months.
Actually, that's really
So you have to determine how long it takes to fully set up the site.
And even measure the outcome.
Yeah,
how
outcomes.
Yes, how hard is the outcome? That's something we have brought out well. Your outcome is death, for instance. That's a very hard outcome. Depending on the kind of disease you're dealing with, you may have to spend forever. But now I'm having a second eye. Thank you so much for the contribution. If they're looking at uptake and their uptake, you realize how they measure it. For instance, uptake is coming to the clinic free. So you're sure people will come. I'm thinking, if you come, then I can get you started as long as it's within the 6 months. So maybe that's one of the things that guided. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. I'm new to this area. One of the participants for the online program. I'm seeking for clarification on who the control is. Is it the people who are not enrolled into the intervention, or just the clarification on who the control in this case is?
Okay. Please, the question is for us all. So somebody could give feedback. Who would be the control in a stepped way?
Okay, from the design, I believe that controls are the things that were before the intervention period. So you consider all those sites and whatever variables you're interested in, you pick those variables within the sites before intervention. That will be your control. And then your intervention is definitely the periods of intervention for all the 20 sites. So typically you don't have like these are controls and this is your intervention site.
Each site will have a control period and then the intervention period. So you measure the outcomes that you get during the control period. This will be the controls, and then when you start intervening, the outcomes that you measure during the intervention period.
Like in this paper, whereas they say it is the baseline period before the intervention, the pre-intervention period, they come and measure. Then they start giving the intervention. Then they keep measuring during those time periods. So there is no specific that this is a group of people called controls. So they just measure the time within those periods. I mean the outcomes within those periods.
So everybody gets a chance to serve as a control and also as an.
So it's called like a crossover. Even these who are like controls, they come to intervention. So everyone gets the intervention. That's why in the analysis you see someone using the GEE, generalized estimating equation, to take into account that time and everything.
I think my last concern is what you talked about, balancing the time between the control time versus the intervention time. Because when you look at this one, we seem to have more months during the intervention than during the control. Is that something that is balanced at analysis level, or you want to have it straight away in the design that the 2 times must be 1 to 1?
Actually, most they want it from the word go. I've not read that announcement as deep, but it's appropriate from the way it will made. But I know you can also control the analysis. But I don't know how they are going to do the analysis.
You can control the analysis, but there is something he still mentioned which was very key. You have to be sure there is no contamination. Otherwise, you may be measuring, you may have a higher estimation of the outcome, a higher positivity bias. when, there's a spillover. So for instance, these people, when they put their approach, the stepped-wedge, I did not look up the map of Kazakhstan, but I assumed when I saw these cities, they started in Almaty, or Almaty, I don't know how you pronounce it, and then they moved somewhere to Karaganda, and then lastly to this other Shai something city. So one city, these cities have to really be far apart to avoid contamination. So I think this is something they pick from even our traditional randomized control trials, to avoid the contamination. But some of those other details are not. Someone else with an opinion on the paper? Something you found interesting or you want to bring to our attention? Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Myself, I work with NGO and we are working with units. Yes, we work with a CPO and harm reduction. So for us, we've been implementing SNS, but via testing. Social network strategies. Yeah, but if we test these clients and we ask them to mention some of their friends that benefit from this. So they will mention, then you will therefore products and then you will test. Actually, it works. But when it comes to linking them to their and those who have come to care, retaining them is still a challenge. But I've seen it is working, so I think we need to sit down and see how we can really try to work with it and see how it can also help us linkage and communication. So it is something that I've actually been actively emphasized and train people and they understand it.
I think that's a very positive one. We also felt really this is a good way of doing it. So I think you can pick it up. I know we are now aware of these challenges, but we can try. Because this population is actually growing in every area of the world, not only Asia. And as we know when Bashir was discussing, most of the infections and transmissions are coming either they come from the drugs and then the sexual transmission. So they cause double harm. Yeah.
I think this would work for key populations. I have done research in the MSMs, the sex workers, and this actually, when I read this paper, I said, I would apply this. Because when I talked to them, they mentioned the real barriers that this paper was addressing. And if you improvise that SMS and link it and everything, where they can benefit from this. Because they trust themselves and they trust their people. So if we do a differentiated delivery, they will actually come.
Brother, I just I know that there is, as part of the search trial, there's a study that was done in the West that actually used this design. And it was published. Is it possible for you to get us audience with the people who implemented that trial so that we really look at the intricacies of implementing it on the ground, so that we can concretize what we have seen here? I think it was the first one, I think was a Nigeria or someone like that. It might be helpful so that you take it to completion in understanding the design if you get someone who has done it in the real world.
Yeah, I've taken note of that.
What's the paper that is cluster randomized? It's information science, cluster randomized, and stepped-wedge. We discussed the two. Because even this one, most of the controls are got from randomized clustering. Those who didn't receive the service are controls, those who receive, but at the end they all receive. So, but there's a time lag of transition. How do you differentiate? Because you're not supposed to have that time lag of transition if the analysis stage. Yes. So it's like a complex.
Okay, Rhoda was whispering to us. I think let's hand over to her so that Yeah.
Thank you so